I'm a hair mineral analysis expert. I have a background in functional medicine, and I educate people using HTMA testing to maximize health, erase debilitating symptoms, and gain energy. I'm a multi-time kettlebell sport world champion, and I'm constantly searching for high-performance pros from all over the world to bring you this human optimization podcast. My name is Pitel-Killah. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Human Optimization Podcast. And I'm so excited to announce in this episode, I have here with me today my sister-in-law, Deb Patel. So let me tell you a little bit about Deb. She lives on a horse farm in southwestern Ontario. She's the wife to my brother Kevin and mother to Michael, Tanner, and Connor. Deb has worked in the direct selling industry as a high-ranking leader to corporate trainer for over 20 years. Her entrepreneurial spirit and love for horses led her to combine the two by opening a retail store of Western wear and cowboy boots where she spends most of her week. Deb's life journey has celebrated many accomplishments and for her share of loss. Her journey through the loss of her son, Tyler, is the passion behind her debut book, I'm Still Your Mom. Released on Amazon October 6th, and we're going to talk all about that today, and we're going to focus on mental health. So tell us about yourself, your motivation, your advocate for mental health. Tell us about you and a little bit how that came to be.
It's difficult to put into words, but all I can say is that it's been a long journey. And it's really a journey through navigating the system, dealing with my own personal connection through life. And the beginning of the book really kind of talks about growing up and not even knowing until much later in life that was a part of mental health as well. So my connection with mental health wasn't until we started seeing signs of early teenage with one of our children that really concerned us, far beyond the spectrum of normal behavior or what would be puberty or he would grow out of. And once we realized that the problems are bigger and more intense than we as parents felt as though we could handle is when we started into the journey. So it wasn't until much later on that I really even knew that I was dealing with mental health or that I was going to be able to get to a place through that loss and the grief to be an advocate for mental health. I knew that something needed to be done. I knew that people needed a voice, and that's something I could bring to the table. So it was connecting the passion and the emotions to something that would look better than just what we dealt with day to day.
So I'm Still Your Mom. You recently released this book, and it's a journey through just life and loss, right? And a tale of what you went through. And so let's talk a little bit about why that book came to be and how that kind of helped you maybe throughout that healing process that you needed.
The book does. It really starts in the beginning, bits and pieces of my life growing up, because you can't talk about now without talking about the journey up until now. And I really had to take a deeper look at where I was and what my role could be. And in order to do that, I had to calm the world. And sadly, the COVID pandemic did that for me. It forced a very organized, very busy life schedule between my husband and myself and my kids and, raising boys and their activities to a quietness that I had never experienced. A forced lockdown for me to really be alone with some thoughts that I had been able to push down and push away for many years. Not necessarily successfully, but we had a great life and we had a successful life. But when my world got quiet and my world was forced to slow down, I realized that my own mental health and thoughts of the 19 years previous to losing Tyler really had a significant bearing on who I was as a person. And I really needed to look at that. And as I was looking at it, I seen the world dealing with similar options, and mental health numbers were at an all-time high and still are. It's a very big concern across our country, and therefore it just enlightened some things inside me that I really needed to look at. And before I knew it, I thought maybe I should write a book and really be a bigger voice and align people that are like-minded or in a situation that could benefit from my journey and some of the learnings that I've shared inside the book.
And so I know that journey, when Tyler was kind of going through those things, you were searching and had some big struggles. And that's really when you came to the healthcare system to look for the answers. And so let's talk a little bit about that and kind of kind of what that support looked like then and maybe what it kind of looks like now.
So I'm not going to lie. The system's broke. Was broke. It is broke. It's better. What my opinion, and only my opinion, was that then 20 years ago, looking for the resources were difficult and limited. If they were more help out there, they were very difficult to find. And you take an emotional parent or caregiver of any sort, and you put them in a situation that's very uncomfortable and extremely personal, and add all the emotions on top of it. And prior to everything being accessible, before podcasts and online and everything that we have at our disposal,
Yeah.
you had to really search.
Yeah.
So you used your education system, you used your doctor's office. And back then, the only real resource that stood out to anybody, especially as a parent, was Children's Aid.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a positive experience on the level that we were at as far as searching for answers. It was a great agency. I have family that historically worked in the agency, and it has a lot of positive aspects to support our community. However, as a parent struggling, the limitations in order to get the help were very black and white. Either they would take wardship over your child to navigate them through the system that was available, or you fought the system, and that was your options. It made it very difficult and added a new level of anxiety and difficulty to a parent searching for answers. So it wasn't for the faint of heart. I definitely had to scream, yell, fight, and claw my way into every level of help to get him to where he needed to be when he needed to be there. And the time lost in doing that was difficult. So fast forward 20 years, all the journeys I've been on, and being an advocate now for about 15 years and doing different aspects, what I'm finding is there's multiple resources on every level that offer care for every age and every aspect of mental health, which it's not just adolescents. Mental health affects everybody and on various levels. So there's many agencies. It's coordinating all those spinning circles into one is still quite difficult. Better, but I think that there's so many people that have the same passion as I do. I would really like to see a way to join the learnings and put them under one roof, whether that be a book or online app is what I'd really like to look for, something that could be on their phone and readily available, and live. A live, warm body that's there to meet that person that's so desperate to reach out and hear and be heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we have to take COVID into account, right? And not that this is any different than for some people than any other day, but for many people, this is either accelerating what they were already dealing with, or taking people who were, who had a job and who were going to a job every day, and now maybe they're not working, maybe they can't pay their bills, and now all of a sudden they're in the same boat, and as per se. And so with that, the suicide rate has increased, and I think a lot of people are maybe sheltered from realizing how serious that issue is. So maybe we can shed just a little bit of light over the past kind of decades about what that rate looks like, and how those, how maybe we can assist in helping those people with some programs.
It's a good point. So, and you're 100% right. So the rates for mental health or that lead to suicide are staggering. Like every 5 seconds, we lose someone to suicide. What's even harder to realize, and something I'd love for everybody to know in this podcast, and it's in my book as well, if there are, and I'll choose a number, if there was 1 million people lost to suicide, there was 4 million attempts, probably 5 million attempts. So the numbers of non-successful suicides are 3 to 4, even 5 times what the actual death toll is. So during COVID, when everyone's so fearful, I hate to add to that layer, but the stigma behind suicide and mental health is exactly that. We don't want to know and we don't want to hear.
Right.
And that's why we're where we are. Not every mental health issue leads to suicide, but it's definitely related.
Yeah.
So Living Works is an amazing company based out west that creates training that's online. And you mentioned about COVID, that's one of the shifts because most of the training through Living Works is always in person. There's always
Mm.
assist trainers, there's specific administrators that produce the training. And I talk about the Safe Talk workshops in the book brought to me by my son Tanner, who was an RLAC in university and thought the program was amazing and kind of
Mhm.
kicked off my whole, 15 years of fundraising and being an advocate. And I bless him for that every day. That same company, that same program, of course, under COVID, as many things, was shut down. It was
Yeah.
limited to what that they could provide. So they created a new training called
Mhm.
START, which is a shorter version. It's about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the person's receptiveness to go through the program. You take it online in the comfort of your home. It's phenomenal training that gives you the tools and the words to be able to help somebody that may be suffering. It gives you the actual verbiage to say to somebody, and it'll talk about this. There's 4 steps that can actually say, "Are you thinking about suicide?"
Mhm.
It's not hidden. It's not covered up in fanciness. It's point blank ways to identify where somebody's struggling and specific steps that you take to get them help. It saves lives. I
That's
quite often say it's, taking skating lessons before you learn to skate, or you take
yeah.
driver's ed before you learn to drive. We as a community need to educate ourselves on mental health. It's not specifically suicide, it's being able to recognize someone else's struggle. And
Yeah.
it's just as simple as just as important and can absolutely save someone's life. So those are kind of the things that we have now, that we can break down the stigma and change the numbers.
And very important again, because I just feel like personally, even the clients that I work with, they're attempting to deal with health struggles and things like that. And again, mindset and mental health is so important with regards to that. And so and I've definitely noticed an increase with regards to the stress on the body that we're seeing physically, right? And that is from that external stress where we have to adapt to today's changing society, right? And so, you know what's how can people look, so this podcast, actually we did this timed for Bell Let's Talk Day, because you know what, that is an amazing initiative. Talk to somebody, reach out to a friend. If you're struggling, reach out, just get on the phone, send a text, do whatever you need to do or whatever you want to do to be able to make sure that your friends and family are supported, and that you're there for them as much as possible. And so, with regards to training and programs and initiatives, how can people get involved to be able to help others? Are there programs like that where people can volunteer to be someone who is helping someone who's struggling through their day to day life?
Absolutely. And I think it all comes to be prepared before you're needed. And it's really about embracing the opportunity to educate yourself.
Mhm.
And it is reaching out. And we are, so limited in our social environment now. We don't even have the interconnection at work, whether, your coworkers were your best friends or not. You had that human connection.
Exactly.
And we're so isolated now that being alone with yourself isn't always favorable. And it kind
It's
of,
true. It's true.
so sometimes you need that human contact.
Yeah.
And I have a website that connects for the book, and I say, it's not just a text. You need to hear and feel their emotions. And phones are for more than texting. You can actually
Yeah.
pick up your phone and call people too. It's quite a wonderful thing. And you want to hear their voice. You want to know they're okay. You don't have to have a degree in mental health in order to check in with somebody, and
Yeah.
you have to check and trust your human ability to recognize that gut instinct was very much the reason I pushed when I knew Tyler was struggling 20 years ago. My
Mhm.
maternal instinct as a mom, I just knew you have to trust your heart, and you have to trust your ability to recognize when something's wrong. and we can run away from it or we can embrace it. But it doesn't go away. It only
Yeah.
gets stronger, and it does affect us, our health. And you're right. It's more than just our mind. So embracing that you can make a difference for yourself and for others is really key step. Reaching out to your doctor or whatever community that you live in for different elements, I highly recommend Living Works. It's online, or any other program. Suicide prevention committees often load all kinds of training and information. Of course, Bell Talk talks about that. There's an online survey that you can check your mental health just to kind of check in. It's a series of a few questions. You go through it and it leads you to information. So our information online is there if you choose it, but you can do better and you can do more for yourself and others just by taking that first step. And then as soon as you take the first step, then please share that journey with someone else. So one of the things that I've done after writing the book was to really make sure that the messaging was there. So as I build out the advertising of the book, I also built a website, debpatel.ca, two B's on Deb. And all the links to the training is there. Living Works is there. Suicide prevention committees in my community and across Ontario and Canada are there, so that you have some bases to look at.
Mm-hmm.
The proceeds from the book are one of the biggest things that I want to mention. For every copy sold, whether it's an e-version of the book or a paperback copy, the proceeds go directly to mental health, Canadian Mental Health Association, and suicide prevention in the community where the book is sold. So I have this lovely person that does a report for me every month to let me know where the books were sold, what area it was in, and then I can make those donations, whether it be monthly or quarterly, to those areas to really promote the training and provisions there. I'm also taking a big stand on reaching out to many different variations of communities and provinces to let them know the work that I've done and all the advocacy work that's in the book and the links that are in the book, so that they can share the book, share the learning, of course, grow the fundraising in their area, and really align what they have to offer.
Yeah.
As soon as something's offered, as soon as something's developed, I put it immediately on my website so that it's there, and I can communicate with you 24 hours a day if needed to really point you in the right direction the best I absolutely can.
That's amazing. And nice to have, one of the things that you had mentioned earlier was the fact that a lot of times you have to search for information, whereas now you're actually building a hub of information for people. And that's a pretty powerful thing for them to be able to go and to be able to find what they're looking for. And if they can't, then obviously reach out. And so I want to backtrack just a little bit because, we're talking about mental health and we're kind of integrating that with COVID. And one of the biggest struggles right now, outside of people and not being in the workplace, you're right. When we don't, even if we're our coworkers, we bounce ideas off of, we're having that communication, we're feeding off each other's energy. And now we're all isolated, right? And especially in Ontario, now we're in lockdown again, right? And that just means that, we can't even visit with neighbors or what have you, your small bubble. And so, kids in school, right? Because kids aren't in school, right? Most schools are closed, if not all of them, and kids are doing online learning. And so, how, like, that type of isolation for children, I mean, what are we looking at with what they might be dealing with, and how might parents help them through that, with regards to them, really missing their friends and not being able to have that interaction with their friends and their social circles as children?
Oh, that's a good question. And I've often thought the same thing. I look back and thank goodness when I was raising my boys, I didn't also have to educate them, because I'm sure that they wouldn't be the successful men that they are today. Because that's a whole different level of training. And I've talked to so many parents that, don't feel as though they're enough in order to be that teacher or to be that parental guide through their education, and the struggles with the systems, and the internet, and
Yeah.
malfunctions and all the different things that go with it. And thank God we have these wonderful teachers that have taken years of education to be that person for us, and now it's a new role for us. And like the workplace, we're now not able to go out in the non-leadership role and just fill those voids. So I think you really need to, again, look at where you're at and really do something for yourself so that you can recognize not only your strengths and weaknesses as far as where your own mental health is, and find something that you do for you to keep up that strength.
Yeah.
But I really think that this is an opportunity for your kids to see you as a
Mhm.
parent. You don't have to be a teacher. You have to be supportive.
Yeah.
Be their parent, not their teacher. Your role as a parent is to guide them through the process, to listen to where their needs are, and to reach out for the support systems that I hope are in place for these parents that are doing so well. Give yourself an attaboy just for embracing the new programs. Allow there to be an imperfect school room in your home, and really just listen to the child's needs. I
Mhm.
think that it gives parents a positive opportunity to be closer to their kids, and hopefully less frustrated when they come to them with things that we don't know. But when you think about it, we sometimes don't know. And I think that you could
Exactly.
be very real with your kids and just say, you know what, that's an excellent question. I haven't done grade 4 math in a long time. I may have to ask your dad on this. So, I mean, have some fun with it, and
Yeah.
be less than perfect. Show them that you're there to be their parent and you're substituting as a teacher, and allow it to flow a little bit less stressful and a little bit less perfect, and know that we're all doing the best we can. And I think that there's some support groups with other parents that could help you through some of the guidelines. Any of the teachers I know that have developed the programs or are in the new virtual classrooms are offering a lot of support to parents. I don't think that you get a better grade by doing it on your own. So use
Yeah.
the resources with the teachers, and rally together as parents. I think that you can stay strong and you can have a great relationship with your kids at the same time. And I think it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that is a perfect point that you made is it's okay to be imperfect, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And you're doing your best. So give yourself a pat on the back, because some people they're working from home, they've got kids at home, right? They've got a lot going on at home now, right? Whereas normally the home was there was nobody there during the day and they were off doing whatever they were
Yeah.
doing. And so just you really need to give yourself a break, because the harder parents are on themselves, the more stress that causes too. And that all trickles down throughout the whole family. And so what's next on the agenda for you, for mental health initiatives, for what's coming up? And I mean, obviously COVID's changed a lot of that. The fundraisers, we can't go out and have everybody at a fundraiser anymore. So I mean, what's next for you? How does that all affect things?
Well, you're right. So the launch of the book was October 6th, which would have been Tyler's birthday. So it was very significant when the book was coming to the finish. We could have published in September. And I said, everything has come to place. And I know Tyler's had a hand in this journey and the whole advocacy through everything that I've done and to the book. I put my last word on paper and signed off to the book for the editor on World Suicide Awareness Day, which was just, I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a big piece. So when I knew that we were close, publishing on his birthday was just that other piece. And I think that I have to keep looking for the signs to do better. Through the launch of the book and bringing communities together, there's people that I've known my whole entire life that reached out to me and said, I didn't know that. And I didn't know that about you. And I'm a pretty talkative person. I say a lot of things. I wear my heart, my life on my sleeve. So it was surprising to me that there was things that they missed. And it just, led me to believe that I think that my journey forward is about doing more. I would really like to align myself with a lot of the different organizations and see what they have to offer so that I can share that learning on my website. I
Yeah.
have donated a lot of books to some shelters, to treatment facilities that really talk about mental health, not just suicide. Suicide is one piece of mental health, but it's actually, if we were to put it in perspective, it's the constant struggle that could lead to depression, and depression is what leads to suicide. 98%, and don't quote me on the numbers as far as being a little off on my statistics, is what leads to suicide. It's the depression and the isolation and the unknown signs that, are a trickle effect of that. That's what mental health is. It is isolation, it's depression, it's feeling as though you're not worthy, it's self-evaluations and so many different aspects of it. So I'm trying to align myself with different organizations. What do you offer? What age do you offer? What kind of training is that? And how do people find you? I would like to get together with a book. It's called A Guide Through Mental Health. That's very, very small, very easy to navigate through all the different chapters of mental health, but it isolates it, whether it's aging parents, whether it's youth or adults, and really one piece that would be produced every year so that people could get it free of charge. When I recently met with one of the previous organizations I worked with Tyler, I said, why the wait lists? So many people reach out to me, they're upset, they're where I was 20 years ago, and they say, Deb, there's wait lists, I can't get help, and they're desperate, and I can feel and sense their pain. It breaks my heart. And quite often, 90% of the time, the reason that they're struggling even more is because of the wait list. So I talked to them about that. I said, why is there so many wait lists? Why is that so common across the province? And what they told me is, shockingly, that they're understaffed. Women go on maternity leave and or get promoted within the company, and their job isn't filled. They're working on a budget that allows for so many people to be under wages and work there, and with less people, it causes less intake work, and therefore not as many people can be seen. So it's not a broken system as it is an underfunded, underemployed situation to meet the demand.
Yeah.
Now, that was just my experience. I hope I don't get beat up too bad. Not every organization, I'm sure, across the country is in the same situation. I know locally in southwestern Ontario, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the inability to have enough people on staff to meet the demand at the highest number that it's ever been currently, with COVID restrictions and people trying to seek help. Yeah. So the organizations are frustrated. They're still passionate. They have so many phenomenal opportunities to offer. There just needs to be more of them.
More of them.
So
yeah, exactly.
We really need to encourage the funding to go to support the organizations that are already in place and create new ones. So my passion will be to rattle a few bars along the line in the cages of the people that I need to release on to align our programs, take my knowledge out there, public speaking, talking about the book and what I've learned, and the opportunities to share, of course, have been shut down with COVID. So there may be more opportunities to talk and share. I have a resource library of resource professional people that would love to go on and speak to what they offer, what options are there, maybe some of the facilitators from Safe Talk workshops that would be more than happy to share with people what they have. It's just working through the restrictions and coming up with new ways to get out there. But search locally. Don't forget about your medical professionals who have resources as well. You just have to ask. Be brave. Know that somebody's counting on you, which is you, and that you can be stronger, and therefore that strong fact, your kids are watching and they can see you be imperfect, because they will be, and we're living in an imperfect world. Set them up for the reality of that, and be there for your friends and family as well. Reach out, hear their voice.
Yeah, very good point. And yeah, I mean, I think that's amazing to be able to bring more people to the forefront of this, because, I mean, we're going to be living in the uncertainty for COVID, hopefully, hopefully not much longer, but we don't know, right? Because it's just that, it's uncertainty. And so I'm Still Your Mom, right? Proceeds are going to support mental health. So tell everybody how they can get a copy of your book, either in paperback or online.
Okay, so it is on Amazon currently, which is probably the quickest avenue to get it. Although if you reach out to me directly, either on the website or our Facebook group, the Facebook group is called I'm Still Your Mom, the book. The website is debpatel.ca. I will absolutely mail out a copy. One of my great ideas prior to COVID was to get these books across the province and across Canada in different shops and make them available a lot closer, so that people could even get a signed copy if they wanted, or it was addressed to somebody in particular that they wanted to gift it too. And that's still available. It's a little more tricky. It's not with the curbside restrictions. If you have a store, or maybe you're a store owner and you would like to offer the book, or help me spread the word, by all means, reach out to me and let me mail you some copies, ship you some copies. That's still working well.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of getting the message out in that respect, and kind of putting the resources out there where people can find them. This podcast is such a tremendous help as far as talking about the book, about the journey, and really bringing the awareness out about the book. It's not a genre that's recognized in bookstores, as much because the title is a bit misleading as far as where the journey goes. There's so much more information about the book, more than my journey. And I think it really gives you an opportunity to look at yourself. It's through childhood, through being a teenager, and what that looked like. Well, we won't say how many years ago, but a few. And what that looked like then and what it looks like now. But
exactly.
the nice part of navigating through it then is I wasn't living a live movie. I wasn't available to the public 24 hours a day like the kids are now. And I worry about them. I worry that there isn't a safe place for them to stay and be okay. So more than ever before, I am more passionate to do more, rip the lids off of opportunities that people can have, and bring some technology together. I would love to see a system for mental health at work, just like 911. You call 911, you have a live operator that has the incredible training, the support that they offer now in an emergency situation, because mental health is also that emergency. It is that crisis that needs guidance. So technology is not my friend, but I have the desire and the heart to stay fast and align myself with people that can make that happen, so that we have more instant contact with people that have the resources and the education to support you right away. And it's not an automated system. So that's the next journey for me. And hopefully the proceeds from the book will expand. So the more proceeds I have, the more fundraising opportunities that will be, again, hopefully, like you said, open sooner rather than later. And that those monies can be funded into the immediate areas that we need them to go to, so that we can support everyone, whether it be online or in person, and definitely in a lot more communities across this great country.
Well, that's great. And I think, that's a huge undertaking, but you know what, if anybody can do it, you can. And so thanks for sharing. And again, get your copy of the book. Remember, all the proceeds go to support mental health initiatives. And so for Bellux Talk Day, pick up the phone and call a friend, call your family members, check in with them, make sure they're okay, watch for the signs, and just talk and just listen, because that's one of the best things that you can do when someone's in need. And so thanks so much for watching today. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my channel. We have a brand new episode here every 2 weeks. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast host, make sure you give us a like. And in the description, you will find Deb's website, where you can find all of the initiatives and trainings that she mentioned. And as well, I will include where you can buy her book. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to today's show. Head over to Pitel-Killah.com to gain access to some amazing free resources that will help you gain energy, erase debilitating symptoms, and be the best version of you. Remember to give this podcast a like and follow me on social media at Pitel-Killah. I'm here every 2 weeks with a brand new episode of the Human Optimization Podcast. Until next time.